Welcome to Storytime. Welcome to a new month. This is the month of February, and we're talking about love. In fact, we're going to talk about all sorts of ways in which to understand and to explore and even to practice love from the yogic perspective. On Mondays, we'll explore different layering of love in terms of our breathing practice and turning our breath into, in fact, love in action. On Tuesdays, we'll meet for story time, and I'll share stories about my own journey of exploring and declaring and experiencing love in all of its facets. I hope that too will invite you to share your stories with me and with those you love. Wednesday, we'll breathe, move, and rest. We'll put it all together in a mini practice, again, cultivating the dimensions of love, both for ourselves and for each other. Thursdays, we'll talk a little deeper into the philosophy of the yoga perspective, or transparent alignment as it applies to yoga, looking at what I call reframe from love, as well as finding ways in which to use Gary Chapman's love languages in action, putting it into practice. And finally, we'll wrap up each week with a new theme each week with our meditation on a contemplation or introspection of at least a few different dimensions of what love looks like. So today in our story time, let's begin with a declaration of love. These words come from Thich Nhat Hanh. He asks, what is loving? It is recognizing the presence of the other with your love. This is not a theory, it is a practice. Whether the object of your love is your heart, your in-breath, your physical body, or your baby, whether it is your son, your daughter, or your partner, your declaration of love is always the same. It is, dear one, I am here for you. So I greet you with this message of love. Dear one, I am here for you. What is loving? Well, he starts right away and he says, it is recognizing the presence of the other with your love. So it sounds like it's not only the intention of expressing love, but also giving our attention to another through some form of recognizable action or inaction, doing, non-doing. In other words, loving is really an execution or an application of transparent alignment, which we talked about last month. Now, today, I want to specifically talk about this declaration of love and share a story that I've never shared that I can think of before today. And that is my own failure to declare love. I'm more comfortable sharing stories with when I was freely able to declare my love for my children, for my husband, for my dear hearts, or even when I was able to receive a declaration of love and receive it with an open heart of gratitude from my children, their first words of, I love you, mommy. And even that profession of love from my now husband and partner. Those moments are easy to recall, easy to even celebrate, and have been critical in my progress to self-love, to recognize that I am worthy of love, which is different than my capability to love. Now, I grew up in a loving home, and with me and my siblings and my parents, there was expressions of love for sure, but they weren't always based in a very tangible way. They were much more, I want to say, cognitive. There was a lot of teasing. I can remember my mom even saying, kind of giving my brother the pass. He was being what I thought was mean to me. And she said, no, that's just his way of expressing love. Well, it didn't land. It didn't land like love. But the story that is the hardest for me to tell is the one where I failed to express love. And that specifically takes me back to my childhood. I'm on the softball field with my classmates. I've just finished the 3rd grade, and my family is I've just finished the 5th grade, and my family is moving in a matter of days across country. In other words, my 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade years, I had been living in Maine, in a little town just outside of Augusta, Maine, called Manchester. And for all intents and purposes, this was really the first time that I had made friends as a young person, made friends, cultivated relationships, hosted birthday parties, and had sleepovers to really create more intimacy with those relationships. Now, my best friend, I actually met on my very first day of school in 2nd grade. Her name is Vicky, and Vicky and I became fast friends. Now, she was not the guide, let's say. So when I arrived on campus, when I arrived to school, my teacher gave me a friend and introduced me to Sarah. Sarah and I remained friends, but Vicky and I found our way to each other on our own, and there was something beautiful and special in that friendship. And to this day, I am grateful for what she taught me about being with someone. And on the surface, we were very, very different. But deep down, I think that there was so much connection and so much desire for each of us to be seen as special that we really did become fast and quick, deep friends. Fast forward now 4 years, and it's time to say goodbye, which I've already moved a couple of times in my young life. We moved from California to Texas, from California to South Dakota, from South Dakota to Texas, and from Texas to Maine. And yet this was the first time that I was actively participating in the farewell. And so standing on the softball field with my parents and my friend Vicky and her parents, the adults were having a conversation, which I remember nothing of, but assumed that it was some sort of banter about, farewell, good luck, take care, all the best, all those kinds of things. And then my mom kind of pushes me forward towards Vicky. And it's here that I feel the obligatory hug demonstration, the need to hug as an expression of love. Now, we weren't a big hugging family. We weren't opposed to it, but it wasn't a regular practice. Really, hugs were about obligation in my experience at this time. I hugged my grandparents when we saw them and when we left from them. And outside of that, it wasn't really an expression of love. It was more of an expression of duty. So as I got kind of pushed forward to say goodbye to my friend, the hug seemed unnaturally natural or unnaturally expected. So I gave a hug, but I can remember it feeling out of sorts, feeling kind of cold fish-like, limp and distant. There was a hug, and then I remember turning my back on her and doing a little circle finger like this, like, woo woo, big deal, that's done. And the instant that transpired in my body, I remember feeling shame, guilt, disappointment in my dismissal of what we just shared, an intimate connection of a hug. And hugs are beautiful because they combine not only time and space and touch, but also potentially the intention of love. Now, no one shamed me. No one called me out on what I defined as disrespect to the moment. But I know that for that moment, I denied myself the potential joy of an authentic connection and expression of love. Not only expression of my love to this dear, sweet childhood friend, but also receiving that from her. Neither one of us had ever had a friend move away before. This was a whole new experience, a whole new adventure. And yet I didn't have the capacity to do it well. Now, fast forward, and I fully understand that this was a catalyst to my learning how to express love, how to show love. And so although there was that impetus of guilt and even a great deal of shame, to the point where I've never shared this story. I do know now that that story, that experience created an opening in my heart for introspection, for clearer seeing, and deeper knowing, to realize my own disconnect. I loved my friend Vicky deeply. I couldn't imagine how I could move on without her in my everyday life. Here next to me in class, her attending dance practice with me, sharing our stories and our secrets, our crushes and our disappointments. So if I could, I'd love to tell Vicky how important she was to me. But likewise, I'd like to tell that little girl that she too is worthy of feeling and receiving, as well as expressing love. And I think that's kind of the crux of my story, is that in order to declare my love, I had to believe that my love was worth sharing. And in part of that, that I was worthy of having that kind of intimacy and connection, that sense of love. So I want to close our story time with a poem entitled Love Cycle. Because like all things in our yoga practice, it really is a practice, a beginning again and a circling around. So that when you and I can come together, I hope that I'm able to honor what Thich Nhat Hanh says here. Dear one, I am here for you, and greet you with a warm welcome. Bid you farewell with a warm embrace. Bless you in your journey. And so the cycle of love itself is an opportunity for learning. Love Cycle by Judy Vaughan Lawrence. Flowing from the earth ever endlessly, we are a cycle of death and rebirth. You are the ocean, and I rejoice in joining your horizon. The dark skies behind my eyes suddenly seem closer and shine, lighting up my mind. From you I soar, and into you I fall, helping you design the shores and bedrocks of our ever-changing, immortal existence. The cycle of death and rebirth begins and ends with our practice of being with, noticing what is, and being willing to change. Much like this says, our ever-changing, immortal existence. Yes, our immortal existence, meaning that spirit that lives, that connects us to prana. And this is the practice of love, is connecting to that prana and expressing gratitude for sharing our journey with those with whom we love, we live, we laugh, we learn. Dear one, I am here for you. Take care of you. Take care of each other. May you be well. Namaste.